Welcome back to Shine In and Out, where science meets soul. I'm your host, Sammy Stoltz, and today's guest is someone who truly embodies that meeting point, Dr. Sarah Nasir. Dr. Sarah is a board-certified addiction medicine physician, a life coach, and an entrepreneur who helps people heal and thrive from the inside out, which is what we're all about. Her six-dimensional holistic health approach blends medical expertise with mindset mastery, emotional intelligence, and productivity strategies, which we can all use. We'll explore everything from the neuroscience of addiction to the psychology of resilience to the science-backed strategies that make time management a tool for both productivity and mental health. Whether you're navigating burnout, balancing family and career, or dreaming of building a legacy that matters, this conversation is packed with both the why and the how. I just wanted to take a quick pause to invite you to something special. I'm building a community. Right now it's starting as a group on Facebook, and it is called the Shine In and Out Community. And it's a space for like-minded people who are ready to grow, to be real and vulnerable, and to support one another in becoming healthier and happier every day. It's not about pretending we have it all figured out. It's about being vulnerable, sharing the wins and the struggles, and walking the journey together. My vision is that this community becomes more than just a group online, that we rethink social media and in-person interactions. And one day when you see the Shine In and Out symbol, whether it be a piece of jewelry, a sticker, a pin, or some form of attire, you'll know that you've spotted someone else who's ready and on the same path, open-hearted, like-minded, and committed to growth. So if you've been craving a space to share your story, get encouragement, and give encouragement, I'd love to see you there. Just search for the Shine In and Out community on Facebook and join us. We can't wait to have you. Okay, we were talking about how people feel pulled to fulfill this purpose, and a lot of the time it doesn't go along with their personal comforts, such as sharing on a podcast things that you believe to be important and feel called to help people with, but you really value your privacy. And I know you talk a lot about success and values going together, so I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
First of all, Samantha, thank you for having me on your show. I was checking out, when my virtual assistant, he connected us. He gave me your information. I was checking out your profile and I was really impressed with what you are doing. I mean, biomedical engineering, I believe John Hopkins, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's so amazing. You're such a brilliant mind. I could just tell. And on top of it, you
Thank you.
just are so beautiful. And this is not just your outer beauty. Like I can see this inner beauty coming through and especially since we were speaking before you hit the record button, I was like, oh my gosh, I am glad that I didn't cancel today because yesterday I'm just feeling so emotionally drained because sometimes when you give and people, you have to give more than what you have, it really pulls from you. So allow me to introduce myself for your audience.
Please.
That way they can, know who's talking and hopefully it'll help us connect and have a deeper connection as we
Love
continue
it.
on this conversation. I'm Dr. Sarah Nasir. I am an osteopathic family medicine doctor, and I'm also a subspecialist in addiction medicine. And my approach to this is to do a comprehensive and compassionate care because I believe and I'm finding that this is a population that faces so much stigma. There's so much misunderstanding, not only in the people surrounding them, but also inner stigma, as well as there's external stigma from the medical healthcare facility as well. So being able to take care of these individuals, helping them find the light in themselves is just such a rewarding experience. As a doctor, I'm supporting them chemically, trying to help them put the homeostasis back in their body. Because at the end of the day, as my sixth grade science teacher used to say, we're just a bag of chemicals, and there's just chemical reactions happening everywhere. And whatever you're putting inside your body is facilitating chemical reactions at the end of the day. It's impacting your biology, it's changing your physics, your physiology. So here comes my osteopathic training of the body being a unit of mind, body, and spirit, where I'm saying that, when my patients are feeling hesitant because they're so tired of putting these artificial chemicals in their body, they're ready to come clean, be out off of everything. And they're like, I don't want to go from one substance to another substance. And I'm like, except this one is being given to you as a treatment to fix the instability that's there so you can regain your life and you can create that style of living that will help you with sustaining sobriety down the line. So, as a doctor, I'm their advisor. I'm supporting them chemically with education, empowering them. Now, after that, it felt like there was a gap. And now I fill that gap as the founder of Transcendent You Life Coaching, because where I find that the chemistry stops, the chemical treatment stops, there's so much more left. I found that there's like 6 dimensions to our well being, is what I've
Mhm.
reached a conclusion to at this point. The physical well being, the mental, emotional, spiritual, social, financial, and aspirational. And I think that last one is the sun in our horizon that continues to pull us forward through the storms, through the darkest of nights to where we're supposed to be. And, the concept of transcendent is a person, it's an enlightened soul who transcends their limits, their limiting beliefs, like, oh, I
Yes.
don't like talking about myself. I don't like being the center of the attention. And instead, they do this because they are connecting with their limitless souls. All these limitations outside, but there's this limitless power inside of us. And we forget how we sound like as we grow older. And societal values shape us in a certain way. I mean, there's definitely a good thing about that. You don't want to be running around the house naked like my kids. You don't want to do that out on the street. So there is a benefit to having some limitations and guidance. However, sometimes it goes beyond where we suppress so much of that natural voice within us. So that's the second pillar. The
Totally.
third pillar is harnessing the power of purpose. And I think that's exactly what you were talking about, feeling that compulsion from within. That's your soul poking you like, go do something.
And
And
she
your
won't
purpose
stop.
is to help people. He doesn't stop until you get on it, right? Until you
Mhm.
start doing it and you start living your purpose, which for you, you want to figure out how to help people find health for themselves, not just be dependent on medicines, helping the
Yeah.
body be vibrant on its own resources. And then that last part of a transcendent is when they realize that all of this is basically helping them live an adventurous, thrilling, fulfilling life of their design. That's a transcendent, and that's what the type of people that I like to connect with and I like to guide. One arm of this coaching is facing the folks in recovery
Mm.
because they're some of the best transcendents that I've met to climb out of the pit. That normally my patients have so much trauma history. It's amazing that they're alive when they come to
Yeah.
me with so many history of like sexual abuse, neglect, violence that they've grown up with, also not having adequate support system, having to navigate all that. Some of my patients face like racial inequality, systemic racism, and all of that. They don't get that break. They don't get that support, that compassion to teach them. And then so that's one part of one group of transcendence I love to work with. Other type of transcendence that I love to work with are those that are just awakening to their realization that we're here for something greater and they feel like there is a fire under their butt, that if they don't do something about it, they can't find peace. So, long story short, these are the two or few things that I'm really working on. Um, And I believe for the most part, I'm living that, what is that word called? Like it's blanking. I'm blanking on it, but that like super state, that state of elation, the state of
You're
natural
fulfilling it
euphoria.
consistently.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm
That
getting it.
that
But
feeling that can
yesterday,
only come with doing
yes,
what your soul has
yes.
been telling you to do.
Exactly. And we're built to be high. It's just that what do we choose to become high on? We're built
Mhm.
to become high on purpose, but because we often shy away from it because we think what is everybody else going to think, we try to drown it. Some people turn to substances. Some people slowly like tone down the volume of their soul so much. They're just a shell walking around. And I do believe that leads to other health problems.
Yeah, I love how
Yeah.
you said you like helping people find the light in themselves because it's already there. And you're right,
Yes.
it's like you might turn it down, but it never left. It's never gone. And you have to do the work, of course, but you can get back there and you can start shining, which is all what
Yeah.
shining and out is all about. So I absolutely love that. And when
Thank
I
you.
think about people who deal with addiction, it seems like these people are some of the most sensitive individuals because it builds up so much that it's really hard to handle whatever they're feeling. And that's a lot of the time when we turn to substances because we just can't handle all of those emotions. So I'm sure as you're helping these people to unravel and to feel safe in approaching these emotions, it becomes an entire other powerful thing to have such sensitivity. And that is just beautiful that you help them through that. So thank you. Thank you for everything you do. I'm very excited to be talking
Oh,
to you.
thank you so much. It's very kind of you. I'm excited to be here talking with you as well. Because, yes, their stories are sometimes after I hear their stories, like I have to take some time out because when you're an empath, it's hard to always like not absorb it and just to like give from that love. But the beautiful thing about giving love to somebody who cherishes it is that in the process of giving love, like more love grows in you. So your
Yes.
natural ability to be a loving person increases. So all of these things, like it's like a muscle, but it may not be something physical we can touch and palpate, but our confidence, our abilities, that it's just like a muscle. You keep using it, and it grows and it becomes more capable.
So being an empath myself, I actually even just today saw that theme in my life because I came into work and I could just feel something was going on with my coworker and I was taking it on and I went for a little walk and I was like, if, I don't even need to get them to talk about it because that's me trying to make me feel better. What I need to do
Yeah.
is give them all of the positive energy I can, even if I'm not talking or interacting directly with them, just sending love their way. And that gave me a sense of relief because at least I could be doing something beneficial. If they don't want to talk, I can't control that. And while I love helping people with verbal conversation, it was a nice tool to have to be able to do something more abstract, I guess.
That's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's really generous of you. Generosity doesn't come only in the form of wealth or money, it also comes in the form of that presence, that care. So that was very kind and generously kind of you.
Thank you. And so, as an empath yourself, and as somebody who hears so many of these things and helps so many of these people that are struggling, amidst your own struggles as life goes, like you said before, you were feeling a little bit emotionally drained, but you also talk a lot about how to master productivity without burning out. So, what are some of those tools that you use on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to reset yourself and to keep yourself from burning out?
It's funny you asked that. I think that's one of the most commonly asked questions I get from people who know me or work with me. And Gosh, every time I get asked that question, it makes me like pause and kind of look at myself first with like, oh wow, I'm like that. And then second, I'm like, yeah, I am like that. That realization, this process of transcending is a process of discovering yourself. And I think that is one of the most fulfilling part is when you get to see that you're becoming someone that you admire. You have always admired all these other people, and now you see those traits in you because you have actively worked on studying it, picking it up, transplanting it in yourself, and then suturing it in. And now here you are. It's not plastic surgery of the outside, it's plastic surgery of the inside in many ways. With that productivity question, the funny thing is, I was known my whole life as a procrastinator and a lazy person. So when I hear and I see that in my own day that how much I accomplish nowadays, um, it is a joy, honestly. And so the things that I had to do, because I had to work hard to get to where I am, this is not something that comes naturally to me, or it didn't. But now it does because I've done it so many times. So that process of iteration is something that is part of the productivity hack, that you do it again and again, and you do something. If you're not successful the way that you want to be, you don't beat yourself up. So number one, give yourself permission to believe that you can do it. If not now, eventually. Okay? Give yourself permission, but not necessarily a deadline, because you realize that this process of achieving productivity or whatever characteristic or trait you want to be part of your identity, it's a journey. And so every day you're going to get better. Every time you do it, you're going to get better. So once I stopped beating myself up for being lazy or not caring enough, that was one of the first things that came through. I used to be deathly scared of having to stay up all night in medical school. This is before medical school or even in medical school. That was one of my biggest fear, that how am I going to not sleep? Because I used to sleep like 12 plus hours a day and I would be happy with that. I
Yeah.
loved sleeping. And then to go like over 24 hours without sleep was something that was really, really scary for me. But then I did it. I was put in that situation. My focus was on my mission. So that's one of the steps of doing productivity, is that you have a goal that's bigger than your fear. Okay. A goal that is bigger than your fear. And this goal is rooted in your passion, rooted from like it comes from your soul. So that way, when you're stepping forward, there's no internal resistance, like no alarm signs going off, like, oh my gosh, how dare you do that? Right? Everything inside of you is aligned towards accomplishing that mission. So it's the mindset first. And then actual things that I do in my days now. First, one more mindset is that I've done it before. Okay. So it's not just
Yes.
like medical school and residency, where I feel like that's where it was catalyst in my transformation to the superhuman abilities that I have now that I didn't have before. Like being able to be in 3 places at once. That was something that clicked on me one night on night shift during residency, where I was running a code, like somebody was dying in my hands in front of me. So I was responding to that, leading a team. So when a code happens, someone is crashing, you have lots of people coming. And I was the main resident. There was an attending, but he was outside doing other things, and I had to like debrief him. Meanwhile, keeping an eye on all the other staff, like the nurses, the respiratory therapist, etc., and making sure that the code was running okay. So this is a very high intensity like situation. And then meanwhile, I'm getting pages that on the second floor inpatient, there's this elderly lady. It's midnight, right? So I'm not sleeping, and there's somebody else not sleeping on the second floor, and they are having a dementia attack. And so the nurse is calling for like a sleep medicine to help them calm down. And it needs to happen now because that's the most important crisis in front of them. And then I'm getting messages from the ER that there's this admission, it needs to be taken up. When am I going to get down there, etc. So when I did that, after I did that, I'm like, okay, I'm now Superwoman. I can do
Yeah.
anything at this point. So that was my like catalyst moment. But when I say like I've done this before, multitasking, getting things done, I think even further back, like in college, in school, etc. And that's an experience that majority of us have, to handle 6 courses in one semester, have multiple deadlines and exams within the span of a small amount, like during the final term week and etc. So, it's something that we have all done, but it was structured and it was done for us. And all we did was we shut off the brain. We didn't question it. We just got things done. So that's one of the modes to enter into, is that you have goals and deadlines throughout the week and you block out time. I don't treat my productivity as a day. I don't do it as a 24-hour. I do it as a week, when I'm, what is it like? Balancing like different company activity, family obligations, personal needs, as well as just binging and vegetating. That's part of my
I
routine as
like that.
well.
Yeah.
You need to allow yourself that. So all of those. So I put weekly goals, I put monthly goals, and then I do set daily goals. And I also allocate myself plenty of daily downtimes that,
Mm.
if this doesn't get done, it will just move on to the next day. So that's one of the way that I approach time. Another thing I do, because if I don't do this, I will not get it done, is I pair myself up with accountability people. So initially that was coaches. Now at this point, I've surrounded myself with individuals. Sometimes they're in teams working together, or sometimes they're individual, and I've assigned them for each one of my businesses. And so I will show up for them, because if I don't, I know I'll be letting them down. So the responsibility shifts from the center of me to the center of the team, and I don't want to let them down. And so that is one way of fooling your ego, getting things done. So for the past few weeks, I've been kind of meeting somebody for 1 hour every night. I've been taking care of my tasks of getting organized and getting things done. And she is working on her stuff meanwhile. And then, as you've met Calvin, he's helping me with the virtual assistant work. I have somebody who's helping me with video editing. Still, a lot of the things I do have to do myself, because I have to keep the bird's eye view. So these are my main things. And then the next one is triaging, is identifying which ones are higher priority. So going back to that night with 3 patients, knowing that I had to go to the admission. So I launched, I told them, like, go get these labs. So when I come down, they're ready and I can take care of the patient. And so that triaging process helped me, that if I do this now, if I launch this application now, it's going to be ready by that time. So that timing is also a sense you develop as you do it again and again. The first day I was doing it, I didn't know what I was doing. I forgot so many things. Like sometimes I didn't know my name, is what it felt like on my first days of residency.
Especially without sleep.
That was an embarrassing day. No, I was sleeping then. It was like the first day of residency. I felt like I forgot everything I had learned my whole life. I still remember the look of my senior resident, where she was just like looking at me in disbelief, like, how did this dumb girl make it through? And
Oh no.
like, I just lost my brain. That's it.
Happens. Especially for me in the
Yeah.
evening. I know you can be a morning person, evening person. After 3 p.m., I tend to have a lot slower of a process. But I really liked what you said about allocating the downtime, because I was speaking on this panel and these students, younger, maybe middle school and high school students, came all the way from India. And I was talking about how important balance is, to do the work and be productive, but also to take time for your health, your exercise, your, eating well instead of just grabbing a cup of noodles or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
all of them that came up to me after that were, how do you do that? How do you make time for that? And I was like, well, what do you do
Mm.
now? And they were saying that their school or their system has them blocking it out hour by hour what they're supposed to be doing. And to me, that means it is nice to have like the accountability of, yeah, you have to finish in an hour, but at the same time, it's pressure because if you don't finish in the hour, you feel like you're behind. Just like having a checklist of 18 things that you want to get done in a day. If you only get 3 things done, you're like, dang. But really, it's, I got 3 things done. That's great. And I really like the weekly point of view because that's actually something that reminded me is my mom, when she would freak out that we weren't eating enough when we were young, she would call the nurse and the nurse would say, look at what they're eating in a week, not in a day, and it should be enough. And so like taking that little step back, I'm doing enough in a week, that's for sure. It's just some days I need more rest than others. I absolutely love that. I think yes, we can have daily tasks, but the overall productivity we shouldn't rate day by day.
And one of the things you mentioned is it's very important. I think we talk about that is these students whose days are scheduled for them. I mean, yeah, it takes off the time that gets wasted trying to figure out what to do. There's that benefit. However, they're operating on someone else's schedule, on someone else's priority, and it's not matched to their energy level. Because
Yeah.
when you want to be productive, what is important is that you are the one who is in charge of how you allocate your time and
Mm.
how you allocate your energy. And once you can be in charge of distribution of that purely from yourself, like your productivity like levels up to like a very, very high degree versus when you are doing it for like the teachers, the parents, the system, which is focused on making everybody fit in that same mold. So this is where society needs to transcend. Not going to happen anytime soon, but wherever we can, if we're ever in the position of, attendingship, stewardship, boss level, I like to tell my assistants that these are the things I need you to get done. Here is a week and you get it done whenever you want and just give me the update. And I had to recently really try to hammer that into one of the new assistants that I hired. She was really nervous about having to work a certain time of the day like she
Mm.
did in her previous employments and, her whole life following that formulaic lifestyle, not the adventurous lifestyle. So definitely had to do a lot of coaching on her because she has talent. She has amazing skills. Just that to work with me, I need folks to be on that higher level of existence.
Totally, because they're more productive overall, even if it doesn't seem like it because they're not working all of those hours. I had the same thing
Yeah.
when I realized I cannot work a 9 to 5 because I work really well in the morning and I've done 8 hours worth of work done in 2 hours. And then I really am just sitting there in pain or have to go for a walk. And my old job was like 15 minutes a day for walking max.
Yeah.
And I was like, whew. So I definitely
Wow.
learned about myself, which you don't really have the chance to when you're given those predetermined schedules your whole life prior. So
Yeah.
that was another reason why I came toward the entrepreneurial route because, wow, I need to be able to dictate the time I use and how I use it.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad to hear that you've entered the entrepreneurial world because I think this is probably the scariest, but yet the most thrilling career one can have. And this is why I've added the word adventure to my value. I'm not somebody who's going to jump off a plane. I'm not going to go diving, deep diving, or any of that. I just find living my life in my style, which is very mellow, to be an adventure.
I love it.
And I find that entrepreneurship allows that.
Yeah, you don't need adrenaline for it to be an adventure, that's for sure. Every day's an adventure. A trip to the grocery store is an adventure. I used to get so excited even just to check the mail. Like that
Exactly.
was okay,
Oh,
so
that's so cute. Yeah.
It's just something that I've always loved doing. So when I think about
Awesome.
medical school, because for a while there, I it was my intention to go to medical school because I wanted to be able to help people be healthier, be happier, and that seemed like a wonderful way to do that on top of my love of learning and just wanting to know everything about the body and how it works. But I did realize, helping one person at a time versus learning everything I can and then sharing it with as many people as I can even fulfills my purpose even more. But on the way, I was so intimidated by the rigor of medical school and just the burnout that I was seeing in everybody that participated. And it didn't make sense to me how we are the ones, as medical students say, that are supposed to be learning how to heal others and teach them how to live a life of good health. Yet, in the meantime, we're forced to burn ourselves out and to just uphold this lifestyle that is not maintainable alongside your health. And so I always, and I've read about how burnout, like you can have the empathy burnout too, which maybe has its benefits because it is such a hard thing to watch people suffer. And that was another concern of mine as an empath. So, what do you think about the system? I I know that you said because it was your purpose, you drove through all of those things, but do you think it had to be that way for you to have learned everything? Do you think there is a better way? Because I feel like I would go to medical school easily if it was a more reasonable, healthy system of doing things.
You triggered a lot of things in me when you were talking about that. I wasn't expecting to talk about that on this show particularly, but I have talked about it in other show, and I'm actually collaborating with others to work towards. I don't think I'll be able to solve the problem, but I think I'm probably part of the process that's starting the conversation and maybe working towards it. So yeah, I some of my worst moments are also from medical school and medical training. I do believe the person that I am today compared to the person who entered medical school are two different people. I felt like parts of me died
Mm,
to
that's profound.
become who I am today. For the question, like, did it have to be for it to be like this? I think it could have been better. However, where we are now, the toxicity, I think it starts before medical school. But before medical school, you're still in such a big ocean that
Mm,
you don't realize all the other burned out kids. Because I kept my distance from them. I didn't realize that they existed until this one class in college. And I'm like, oh, wow. But it was just my mom who told me I'm not smart enough to get into medical school. But there was this girl who legit told me, like, moms, they will blow things out of proportion, but they still love you. But this girl who I didn't know at all, we just had one or two classes together, and she was pre-med track, and she told me that with my GPA, I wouldn't be able to get into medical school. And I definitely didn't have a glorious GPA. I had one of I don't know how I got into medical school. I didn't bribe anybody to get into medical school, but I think that was the thing. I was meant to be here. But I got in. And then I met amazing, wonderful people in the process. And I don't want to take away from the beauty that is in the process of becoming a doctor. I think, um, would I do something else if I had to start over again? If I wanted to go through a less rigorous process, maybe I would go through one of the allied health professional, but I'm now revisiting that thought also. Because at the end of the day, a doctor is a doctor. There is a sense of honor, a sense of authority, and most importantly, the ability to impact someone's life is the most in a doctor's hand of all the health professionals. So for that, I am grateful that I'm a doctor. I did lose a lot of part of myself, but as I rebuilt myself, I came back stronger. I have a lot more armor. I have a lot more resilience because of the way that I was broken down. And I think some of it is necessary. Growth is uncomfortable. I do believe that we
Absolutely.
have to go through an arduous process to level up. And that's how just our muscles work as well.
Mhm.
You have to break the muscle cells to make them grow and become muscular and stronger. So I think there is a healthy breakage that's important to level up, to become a caretaker of the most noble thing on earth, which is a human life.
Absolutely.
I am grateful that I'm able to be a doctor. Could I have done without the drama, the dog eat dog situation
Yeah.
that really didn't need to be there? I could have done well without it. Does it happen very much? Is it talked about? Not enough. So I'm working on that with somebody who has now become a friend because of podcasting.
Awesome.
She was looking for stories of hardship. And, I went on her podcast and I told her my story. She shared her story. And then we're like, why don't we do something about this together? Let's team up. So we're going to have a bullying in medicine summit in November, a
Ooh,
virtual summit. It's going to
okay.
be our first virtual summit. We want to focus on doctors this round. But I've seen it in other parts of academia. I don't know why when people learn a little, they think they know they're the hot stuff. Universe revolves around them. That sick mentality, I don't know where it comes from, but I was on the receiving end of it. I've seen others be on the receiving end of it, and that just doesn't need to be there. That's my belief. And I think that's what leads to burnout, that you are working hard. You are facing death in the face, so
Mm.
much trauma you have to deal with. And during that time, you don't know if the people around you are safe. The people who are supposed to be your comrades in arm,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
the ones that you can't rely on. It becomes like really, I think that's where burnout happens. And then outside, you have the litigation system. You know, yes, it's important to have a vigilante system that makes sure that the patients are being protected. But then there's a different predatory system where the goal is to scapegoat and externalize blame instead of taking accountability that the health is in the patient's hand also. Like a few days ago, I saw somebody say, like, one of the biggest system that needs to be fought is the medical cartel. And I'm like, really? Did I just read that? And if something happens to this person, where are they going to go for help? To the medical cartel, asking for them to deal like certain chemicals to them. Doctors do better? Hell yeah, of course. That's part of being human. It's about improving every day, but that's going to be there. But for me, the hardest thing was having to face it from people that I thought had my back,
Yes.
that were like excited to be part of the legacy that I was becoming. Like I was going to carry their name with me
Mm.
as I go forward and raise their name. But instead now I'm like, they're the ones that broke me and hurt me.
Yes.
Not a good part
Yes.
of my legacy.
Exactly. So I feel like there is absolutely a cycle of the people who were there before the people who were there before you tortured them because they were tortured. And then they get to a point where they're high enough and they believe, well, I get to that point, now I deserve to do the same thing. Or it's it's just such an interesting thing. And I think if we can get a generation of mentors that only want to help and give a safe environment for the learning and the idea that all boats rise with the tide, like we can all be successful. You don't need to sabotage another student. And that cutthroat mentality is another reason why I didn't want to go to one of those schools and, have somebody rewrite the notes in a wrong way and send them to me if I missed class. Like, I've heard so many horror stories, and it's crazy because
Wow.
imagine how much better we could all do if we collaborated. And there's no bad that could come from that. And I don't know if it comes from the ranking system or whatever, but whatever is perpetuating the students against students and the mentors against students, definitely we need to see a change, and I'm
Or
so glad that
mentors
you're.
against each other. It's at
Yes,
every level. It's at every level. It's
very true.
a really hyper concentrated cycle of trauma. And
Yeah.
it's one thing to just sit there and complain about it, make fun of it, but it's another thing to go like, definitely it's important to develop a thick skin where you really shouldn't care about what others are talking about you like part of the process of developing thick skin is getting exposed to that like uh onslaught. However, to push somebody past their breaking point, that's what bullying is, and that's very toxic. Another friend I'm working with, he is working on trying to change the way that the medical education is delivered. And he is founding a company called MedEd Cloud.
Hmm.
This is going to be I think it's going to be revolutionary once we're done with it. It's not just approaching adult learning in a more like an innovative way. His goal is to also pair an agentic AI that continues to follow the student and monitor their progress and help them connect with lesson plans where they're weakened, because it's not about how can you fail, it's about how can you improve. It's that goal instead. Let's Because you're going to be out there taking care of someone's family, but he's going to be taking care of your family and you. So why not just make this doctor, this nurse who shows up? Right now, we're focusing on doctors. Hopefully, down the line, it'll be more expanded to create that future healer who is not only capable, but also compassionate, because that's where I'm coming into the game as the chief wellness officer, to
Wow.
build that transcendent six-dimensional wellness monitoring using AI again to, check in with the student. One of the things I like to do is set 90-day goals in the 6 areas and then helping them be accountable with that, connecting them with resources, along with a lot of other cool things that we have in plan. So this is
Wow.
his life's work, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. And that's where I'm loving this entrepreneur side of me. But you know what? If I wasn't a doctor, I wouldn't be able to bootstrap these for myself. So definitely very grateful for the degree that I do have, for it is allowing me to do more.
Of course.
So
Wow, that
yeah, his
sounds
life
like
turned
it's
out all right.
great. I'm so glad. I I
Thanks.
guess a big part of it is what you talk about a lot is sticking to your values and following who you are. And because I'm all about us helping each other and us being healthy inside and out throughout our day, throughout our life, getting enough sleep, eating well, making time for rest. I guess I got to the point where I realized that most medical schools would not align with living my values. And that's what, in the end, pushed me away. Not fear, because I've come to a place where I move toward fear. I want to be uncomfortable because every time I've been uncomfortable, inevitably I grow, and I'm so glad that
Yeah.
I did it. So, what do you have to say to people who want to stay rooted in their values, but also pursue ambitious goals and the societal things that might stand in the way?
Yeah. So you're asking me how to be a transcendent, right? Um, First of all, I really applaud you for choosing yourself. The most important person in your life is you. Somebody told me this. So I didn't always wear a hijab, but I really admired it. I tried it several times before it finally stuck. It was something that I admired, but I feared the backlash, not only from society outside, but I heard some negative comments within my circle, my family circle and stuff. And so, you know, it was really weighing heavy on my heart. And then one day I was at this like youth retreat camping trip, and this gentleman, he said that, okay, if you save the whole world and you are ruined at the end of the day, who have you really saved? It was like a kick in the gut for sure, because it's like, the right answer is save everybody. As long as everybody else is safe, then that's perfect, even if I go to ruin, right? But then it made me like have that introspection that is true. Like, the rest of the world is not going to care about the world the way I will. And they're definitely not going to care about me. So it's one thing to be the center of the universe in an egotistical way. It's another thing to be center of your universe in a selfless way. So as my friend used to say, put on your own oxygen mask first. Number one, you need to prioritize yourself. It's not selfish. If you want to be selfless, you have to be selfish, and then you can be selfless. Number two is spend a lot of time reflecting on yourself. Identify yourself, discover yourself, recognize yourself. What makes you feel comfortable? What makes you feel uncomfortable? For example, if you feel like you're showing off, but you don't want to show off, you just want to show up, keep at it until you
Hmm.
figure out what it feels like when you're showing off. And then you know your other limit, that this is where you're showing up, right? And so you want to operate in between, and you become better at it the more you keep doing it. And then there will be a day where you can write a prescription without being like, I'm a doctor, right? You just do it, right? Um, and then identify your values, because sometimes what we think are valuable, like, I was thinking like saving the world is the best thing to do. So that value was challenged and I had to redefine it. So be honest with yourself, be ready to change your value if it is not a value that's serving you in growing and transcending and becoming a better person, in bringing more value to the world from your life. So you need to know your values. And one of the best ways to do that is to identify people who you admire and know that you don't admire that person, but you admire certain things about them. So you need to develop that insight about what are these values that I like, and figure out how to get that value and transplant it onto yourself, and constantly be a learner where you're
Yes.
not only learning about the world, but you're learning about yourself as well and implement it.
The same realization because I was putting everything above myself, everything above my health. And once I lost that health, you realize, well, I can't do anything without my health. I can't be productive. I can't help other people. I can't save the world if I don't have the capacity to do that, let alone go for a walk. So, yes, absolutely. Taking care of ourselves is paramount, and doing so that we don't have to be out of commission and that we can continue to pursue that purpose is a duty as well. So, any
A
last
duty. It is a duty
remarks?
upon our
Yes,
souls.
yes. Any last remarks? Any tips for people that are trying to fulfill their purpose and juggle all of the things in their life and prioritize the right things and manage their time?
Be kind to yourself is number one. If you trip, be like the kid version of you where you fell on your butt, but you got back up and you
Mm.
kept walking until you were running. Just like that, whatever skill you admire, that's exactly how you acquire it. You pick it up, you try it, you fail, people will comment, and that's them projecting their insecurity onto you versus, do self-assess. Like, how can you improve? Continue to work towards becoming a better version. And the last thing is that when you live purpose and you live in alignment with who you are, and you are meant to be a beautiful thing, okay? I truly believe that our purpose is nothing but positive. I think when we walk away from our purpose and we stop listening to that pure version of ourselves, that's when people start to do bad things, and they persist on it until it becomes their natural, and they just completely wall off that beautiful part of themselves. So your purpose is for something beautiful, a very pure soul. So try to purify it and cleanse it every time you can. And once you have these two things happening and it's driving your life, the sweetness is amazing. The view that you get from the height is amazing. And everybody around you will not see that. So what do you do then? Is you go, you find your flock, because not everybody around you is built for flight. Okay. So those would be my last words.
I really love that. And what came to my mind while you were speaking is that it's never too late to listen to your soul, because there are so many people that follow what their families wanted them to do or what society says to do, or even what gives them financial security. And down the line, they feel miserable and they wish they had done something else. And they wonder. The idea is that you can restart at any time. You don't have to wonder, because if your soul's not going to stop telling you, then you know that that's what you have to do. And I love what you said about finding the flock. I'm always open to finding more people, and I'm so glad that I got to meet you and have you on the show today. And excited to listen to your podcast as well.
Thank you, Samantha. I really appreciate this hour as well. As I said, like I was feeling like really down, and I'm like, I think maybe I'll cancel and just give myself like that rest. But hanging out with people who are of that like high altitude, and you are, because I saw what your show was about. I'm like, I think I'm going to come out of it better, because it's just like when you hang out with the like type same energy people, they recharge you. There are people who drain you,
So
and there are
true.
people who charge you up. And this is this type of people who are looking for good things, noble things. That's my type of people. That's my spirit food. And so I just knew I was gonna get charged. So I appreciate you sharing your energy and allowing me to speak. So I reminded myself I do what I do, you know. And my podcast, the first one that I'm doing right now, is for Muslim women, because, you know, that is one of my identity. I'm very proud,
Yeah.
and it's part of me that I love, has brought so much to me. It's a big part of my growth. It's called Masala Muslima. Masala
Okay.
means spice, and Muslima means Muslim woman.
I
And
love
I
it.
believe my faith is something that flavors the way that I approach the world. You know, it definitely shapes it. And I am a foodie on many levels. I love the different subtleties of flavor. And I feel like there's that in life as well. So who doesn't like food? And bring Muslim women together, we will always talk about food. So it's a talk show about faith, about how we live, things that excite us, things that we're dealing with, and always two recipes or one recipe, you know, to share with the
I
audience, you know,
love it.
recipes from our lives, recipes from our kitchen. So it's just that. So I've wanted to do this for a long time. And so finally it's out.
That is so
Yeah.
awesome. I love how multifaceted it is and how you it is, right? I think a lot of people are going to benefit from it, whether they're Muslim or not. I think adhering to your culture and your values and just learning about yourself and just being in a community of any sort is very powerful. So I'm so excited to share that. I'll put everything in the show notes. I was feeling the same way coming into this. I was wishing I didn't schedule something
Yeah.
for 6 p.m. because I'm a morning bird, but I am also so glad
Right.
that we met, and I sincerely hope to stay in touch and continue learning and
Yes.
seeing where your journey takes you, because I'm very excited
Yeah,
about
let's
all of it.
thank you. Thank you so much. I share the same feelings. I
Dr. Sarah, thank you so much for coming and sharing both the heart and the science behind living a purposeful and resilient life. From understanding how our brains adapt to change, to protecting our time and energy, and to grounding ourselves in what matters most, you've truly given us a blueprint for thriving. If today's episode inspired you, You can connect with Dr. Nasir on her social media or explore her coaching and medical work online. All of the links will be in the show notes. And remember, lasting success isn't just about how much we do. It's about aligning what we do with who we are. Until next time, keep shining. I want to take a quick moment to share something that I've been pouring my heart and my time into. It's an app called Epitome. Think of it as your one-stop shop for wellness, not just another app with tips or trackers, but a full dashboard for your best life. Inside, you'll find curriculum, pre-recorded content you can return to anytime, journaling tools, and even AI-mediated coaching that grows with you and helps you schedule all of this self-care into your daily life. It brings together the habit and ritual creation, integrated calendaring, and mindset practices all in one place. My vision is simple. I don't want you juggling 5 different apps and a dozen notebooks just to stay on track. Epitome is designed to be a central hub that ensures you don't just set wellness goals, you live them. It's everything you need to stick with the practices that transform you into the best version of yourself, curated, cohesive, and right at your fingertips. So keep listening as this dream unfolds, because soon you'll be one of the first to test it. Thank you.